A frequent debate folks have about puzzles is whether puzzles should challenge the character or the player. That is, should your wizard be able to use their intelligence score to discover the answer to a puzzle, or should it be left up to the actual intelligence of the players to figure the puzzle out? However, this debate is really just a smokescreen. What's really happening is that some players just dislike puzzles. They don't want to actually have to figure them out. They would rather just be able to make some dice rolls to overcome the challenge. But if that's all a puzzle is, some dice rolls, and the players don't actually have to use their own brains, such a puzzle is pointless and shouldn't even be in the game. Why would the dungeon master even go to the trouble of thinking up the puzzle if we're just gonna roll dice to resolve it? So thus, it's very clear to me that puzzles must challenge players and not just their characters, or they have no place in tabletop RPGs. Sure, many game masters will allow the players to get clues based on intelligence checks and the like, and that's totally reasonable, but auto-solving based on dice rolls, no. Hi, I'm Luke Hart, and on this channel I share my nearly 30 years of Game Master experience so that you can run amazing games that your players will love. And today we're talking about puzzles, just in case you haven't figured that out quite yet. And specifically, we're discussing 12 things that make a horrible puzzle and what you should do instead. Number 1, the puzzle is too hard. Or the puzzle is too obscure, perhaps relies on advanced music theory, or the puzzle is too easy. Extremes are usually best avoided. Puzzles that are too hard frustrate players and can diminish the fun of the game. Puzzles that are too easy are anticlimactic, resulting in a reward or progression that doesn't feel earned. What you really want is a puzzle that is challenging but solvable. Remember, a good puzzle wants to be solved. You don't want to stump your players. The happy path is a puzzle that is just challenging enough so that when the players solve it, they can feel a sense of accomplishment and pride. Number 2, too many puzzles. Puzzles are like bacon. A few slices next to the eggs, cheese, and corn tortillas are great. However, when it's half a pack of bacon, well, that's just really too much. Wait, what am I saying? Just forget about this metaphor. It just fell apart. You can never have enough bacon. But my point here is that puzzles are usually best when encountered occasionally. I would say once per adventure or once every 3 or so game sessions is probably plenty for most groups, unless you have some players that are gluttons for puzzles. But even then, you likely have players that do not like them. So too many is going to lessen the appeal of the game for them. Besides which, lots of puzzles means you have to create those puzzles. And I don't know about you, but creating a good puzzle can be quite challenging. Number 3, the puzzle only has one solution. A puzzle with only one solution can grind the game to a halt if your players aren't picking up on that solution, and it can become a frustrating experience. What I like to do with my puzzles is to have a solution that I've determined in advance, but then I'm willing to accept other reasonable solutions that the players come up with during gameplay. Just ask yourself if the solution is logical, satisfying, and fun. If so, why not allow it? By the way, if you're getting value out of these videos and would like to say thank you, please consider becoming a DM Lair patron at the link below. In addition to supporting our free content, you'll also be getting our premium content every month. A new issue of Lair magazine, which contains adventures, monsters, encounters, magic items, maps, and even puzzles, all designed for both D&D 5th edition and Pathfinder 2. You can also get access to my personal Game Master notes, including the Shadow Dark and Pathfinder 2 adventures I create for my personal games. If that sounds like something you'd be interested in, click the link below to learn more about becoming a DM Lair patron. Number 4, the puzzle relies too much on dice rolls. We alluded to this in our overly long introduction, which you probably just scrubbed past so that you could get to the meat of the video. However, if you did that, shame on you. I consider you a filthy watch time stealer and will thoroughly berate you in a future video that uses some sweet clickbait to add insult to injury. Anyway, as I've said, you don't want your players to be able to solve a puzzle with a few dice rolls. Instead, the best puzzles are those that use both the player's own brains and creativity and ability to apply reason and logic along with the character's knowledge and skills. The best way to implement this is to mostly make the players have to figure things out on their own, but allow for roles to get insight and hints about the puzzle. Number 5, the puzzle prevents forward progress. When I was writing my Escape from the Fae adventure module, I wanted one of the adventures to be fairly puzzle heavy. However, I had to be careful to allow other means, besides solving the puzzles, of being able to progress in the adventure. You see, if the group is stymied by a puzzle and just can't figure it out, and the solution is required to move on in the mission, well, you're kind of screwed as the game master. Either you have to give them the solution, hand wave the puzzle, backtrack and clarify that solving the puzzle isn't actually required, or kindly inform them that they just failed the mission and should retreat back to town with their tails tucked between their legs. What you want to do is make puzzles either optional, solving them might lead to more loot or optional parts of the dungeon, or allow them to be bypassed in another way, such as by overcoming a combat encounter. Number 6, the puzzle involves illogical assumptions. If your players need to make an obscure logical leap, or the puzzle is nebulous or ambiguous, you probably got a bad puzzle on your hands that is going to frustrate players. Most people approach puzzles with logic. Thus, a good puzzle is logical and doesn't require guesswork to figure out its methods. Furthermore, the clues presented in the description of the puzzle should point to the puzzle's method and its solution. By the way, if you're finding this information useful, please give me a thumbs up and share this video with a fellow game master. Or maybe just leave me a comment down below and let me know that I don't completely suck. Unless I do, in which case you're free to tell me that I suck as well. I am a big boy. I will only go cry in the corner on occasion. I know I can handle it, but just, be gentle. Number 7, the puzzle relies on one character to solve it. For instance, a puzzle that requires casting a cantrip that only appears on the cleric spell list is probably a bad puzzle. Or if the puzzle relies on music theory and you created it because you know that Tim is good at music, but if no one else in the group knows a lick about music, that's really just Tim's show and everyone else is gonna be tuned out and on their phones and just waiting for Tim to figure it out. Remember, tabletop role-playing games are group games, and thus good puzzles allow for the group to come up with and execute the solutions. Consider requiring a variety of skills or having multiple characters do things at the same time. Like go pull that lever while this guy stands here, while that guy hops up and down his foot, while this guy shoots an arrow through the hoops, that sort of thing maybe. Number 8, the puzzle doesn't belong. Now this is a rough one. I'll be honest, you're probably gonna be screwed more often than not here. Point I'm supposed to make is that a bad puzzle has no reason for being in the dungeon or adventure. It's really just there because the GM wanted to include a puzzle. Ideally, what you want is a puzzle that is tied in with the lore of the location and has a logical reason for being there. Now, this can be done, but I often find this challenging or nearly impossible to do. You see, the existence of puzzles just doesn't make a lot of sense in general. If I have the power and resources to create a complex puzzle, it seems like I just use keys and magic instead. They are easier to implement and more secure. If I'm the evil bad guy who is making a dungeon, designing and building a puzzle that just anyone can figure out with 20 minutes of thought seems like a massive waste of resources. Again, I'd probably just use thick doors, fancy keys, and powerful magic. To me, a puzzle in a dungeon is almost always going to seem like the GM included it because they know some players really enjoy puzzles. But do your best, I guess. Do your best. Number 9. The puzzle has no stakes. If the only cost to failing a puzzle is not succeeding at the puzzle, well, you got a stupid, pointless puzzle on your hands. Not solving a puzzle should have some sort of consequence or price. Maybe something later on in the adventure is more dangerous, electrified, ankle-deep water that the puzzle could have turned off, or maybe just the group misses out on the cool loot that they know is behind the closed stone door that's for some illogical reason protected by a puzzle. Then if you spend a few minutes, you'll figure it out, maybe. See, puzzles don't make sense a lot of times, but it's part of the game, I suppose. Just enjoy the illogical beauty of it all. Number 10, the puzzle takes too long to solve. Look, no one wants a puzzle. No one wants to spend hours, several hours solving a puzzle. Even puzzle freaks will probably lose it at some point. Puzzles shouldn't take over the entire game session. Instead, a good puzzle takes maybe 30 minutes tops to solve. Now, I know that you can't control for how quickly or slowly your wonderful players actually solve a puzzle. Something you thought wasn't that bad could turn into a monster. So I guess all I can really say is do your best when designing the puzzle. And if a puzzle is really dragging on, maybe, just maybe, you could give some clues based on successful skill checks or something. You know, nudge them along a little bit so they can not be there the whole day. Number 11, the puzzle uses magic or mechanical design that is out of place. If you're running a fantasy game, but you have sci-fi elements like lasers in your puzzle, then it's going to seem odd to your players. A puzzle should feel like it belongs in the game world, fits the genre, and relies upon the lore of the world. Doing this will make the puzzle feel like it was created by someone from the actual world and reinforce the verisimilitude of your game. There's a fancy word for you, verisimilitude. Number 12, the puzzle is one and done. Puzzles that can be solved with just one action are rather forgettable. It's not so much that they are badly designed, but that something more could have been done. Better puzzles have dynamic elements where multiple actions must be performed to successfully progress the puzzle toward its final solution. That is, there should be multiple little solutions that lead to the one final solution. But that's just what I think. Let us know down in the comments what you think makes a good puzzle. Also, if you'd like to get free Game Master resources delivered to your inbox every week, sign up for the DM Layer newsletter at the link below. We also have monthly RPG book giveaways that you can get in on. Now, if you'd like to learn how to design a campaign without a central story or campaign arc, watch this video right here. And until next time, happy game mastering.